looking at buying land, if you own a home and they want to build a data center near you, this is what you probably need to pay very close attention to this, because this is starting to affect people. I've seen people talk about their water, talk about the noise at night, the lights that shine. One lady was actually talking about on a YouTube video how the lights from the data center shines into her house, and it's almost like they got to sell the place because you can't. It's no rest. It's no peace. So when I look at and I'm a lover of AI. I'm a lover of technology. I love tech, man. I love it. I don't have anything negative against tech people doing tech things, building tech businesses. I'm talking to you right now on YouTube. This is tech, but we gotta do something about building these data centers so close to neighborhoods, so close to schools, so close to where everyone lives. And I know that, to me, that's a common sense thing. I don't know why people would actually not see this as a common sense issue. Uh, but we're dealing with money, we're dealing with power, okay? And people, this is the clear example of the stretching between the have and the have-nots, okay? So that's why I say, man, this is not just, I don't just do these to like tell you what's going on. But if you think about real estate, if you're thinking about business, lending, anything like that, building a second stream, going to 2026, using AI to stream your real estate, you got to do all those things and stop and get off the floor and stop procrastinating. Whether you're going to buy property, whether you're going to turn around and sell some property and move to another country, just do it, and whatever you're going to do it. Because in 2026, as AI advances, we're going to see a lot more of these data facilities and centers pushing into communities.
Yo, this is about to be our new reality, bro. When all these data centers get to busing and all of them are going at the same time, bro. That's what them data centers is finna be doing to our fucking lungs, bro. Our air and shit. You see all that smoke, bro? This is what's happening in Boxtown, Memphis, you feel me? Suffocating niggas and shit, bro. You didn't take the time to learn about what was going on in Boxtown, Memphis, and how those people are literally being suffocated by tech companies and what was built in their city.
And this is not just Memphis. This is happening across the board, so many different places. Now, why do we need these data centers? Let's break it down.
These highly secure, often unmarked buildings store data for some of the world's biggest tech companies. They're the physical infrastructure that enable us to zoom into class, watch a TikTok, bank online, or ask ChatGPT a question. And in the next 5 years, consumers and businesses are expected to generate twice as much data as they did in the last 10. As users and companies demand more and more processing power and storage to fuel an ever more complex internet, existing data centers here are becoming overwhelmed, causing the industry to go into a frenzy to try to accommodate the explosive demand. Across the country, companies like Amazon, Nvidia, and Google are quietly infiltrating communities to build out massive compounds filled with the next generation of supercomputers. And it's all to make these things do something. Fundamentally, data centers store data, process data, and move data. So storage. To store this 3D model of my nut, I could put it on this hard drive, or I could upload it to the cloud, which is basically just a hard drive in a data center somewhere with some more redundancy or backups in case one breaks. As for processing data, everything that happens on the internet that's not on your computer is being done in a data center. So if you search nuts on Google, a computer in a data center looks through billions of nut websites and pictures of nuts, tries to figure out which ones you want to see, and organizes them for you to find your favorite nuts.
That's not my nut.
Which is the last major thing data centers do. When all the processing is done, or you request a photo of a cashew, or you're on a FaceTime call with an almond, data centers with internet service providers disperse that information.
Now, keep in mind that Amazon and some of these other companies that we use, they've already started building. I mean, they're well into that data center, cloud storage centers. I think I learned this when I was doing a AWS course on how Amazon is so split throughout different countries throughout the world. And they're doing this not just in the US, they're doing this in other places too. So this is not just limited to Amazon in the United States or to any of these data providers just in the US, but it's starting to get more and more personal. I feel when we're dealing with communities and homes that are being built, and they're being built right around these data centers, right around them, you know? And worse than that, people are selling their land to these data centers. And some of them are making great money in selling their land. I guess they're ditching it and saying, I'm done with the community, I'm leaving. But we got to think about everyone that's staying there. So I'm in Atlanta, of course. I'm down here outside of the city. I've driven through the city and I've seen data centers right smack in the middle of Southwest Atlanta, which was very curious to me, especially since I know that there's that depending on the data center, there's a water filtration system that's necessary in order to run it properly. And there was a lot of confusion about the purity of the water coming out of these data centers and the effect it would have on the environment. But I think we're at a place right now where, since the market is so low, you've got deficits in places like Chicago. You see their tax deficit, their inner city taxes. They got to raise the taxes on people that shouldn't have to raise the taxes on because they piss poor budgeting. See who else is right here. We're going to pause this. Somebody else might be here. Let's see. This is the thing about doing it at home. When you got a Kane and you got some dogs, man, this is what happens when you got dogs. They go off. Where was I at? Oh, yeah, these data centers, man. When you have these data centers and the purity of how, when we're dealing right now, we're dealing in a space right now where there's such a need for capital by municipalities, whether you're talking about Baltimore, whether you're talking about Chicago, and it's going down to some local municipalities, towns, and communities and counties also in the South, not just in up north or in the Midwest. When things like that happen, I feel like our city officials, the people that we put and we're elected in, they are left with, do we compromise the integrity of our community with people that live here? Do we take the time and because we want to make money, do we take the time and listen to them, or do we compromise in order to make an extra buck? So we're having that fight, that argument, and it came to Metro Atlanta, but it's spreading out to some of these other municipalities around Metro Atlanta. And based on their decisions is going to determine, based on their decisions, to me, is going to determine the type of environment that city or that area in the next 20 years is going to determine that type of environment. It's going to determine it. And we see it. You see it with the pollution. It's going to determine.
From neighbors in DeKalb County making it clear they do not want a 1 million square foot data center to come to Ellenwood. Dozens of people packed the Wesley Chapel Library to learn more about the potential negative impacts.
So Ellenwood is on the east side of Atlanta. It is not in the city of Atlanta. It's considered DeKalb County. So if we look at it and we're looking at Atlanta, Ellenwood would be on this east side going out. You're away from the city. You're probably like about 30 minutes, 45 minutes away from the city, just depending on the time, the level of traffic. That's where Ellenwood is located.
Data center could bring into their communities. This comes 1 week before the Board of Commissioners is set to vote on an amendment that would establish land use regulations for data centers. 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn has more.
When the people's rights are under attack, what do we do?
The fight against the Ellenwood data center is growing.
We do not want or need these data campuses in our community.
Jackie Malcolm has lived in South DeKalb for more than 3 decades, but says this isn't just about one district.
We are standing together as a whole.
Gina Mangum says Tuesday night's forum at Wesley Chapel Library is for a couple reasons. One being community education.
A lot of people don't even know what's coming, and it's really important that people understand the issue.
The issue being data centers.
The second thing is to stop large-scale data campuses in our community.
The Board of Commissioners is set to vote December 16th on a text amendment that would regulate land use by these data centers. The vote was deferred from the BOC's November 20th meeting as things got heated.
Please, let the people speak. Let the people speak.
These residents say they're not buying what the BOC is trying to sell the county.
We are going to end up with data campuses in our backyards. It's not good. It's bad for our health. It's bad for land use. It's bad for the environment. There's really no good thing about these.
So, and if you notice right here, let's go back to that real quick. Some of the points that's being quoted about these data centers, you got noise and light pollution, air quality concerns. To me, as a capitalist, I believe that you should be able to make good money without displacing people or destroying their property or just making it hard for them to live life. Okay? You shouldn't be making or destroying the earth to make a profit. I just don't believe that's necessary. But as we get more and more, as this gap between the rich and the poor tends to grow more and more, I think we're going to see more and more things like this because these data centers also create jobs. And if a community is suffering and it would benefit them to have a big business like this in their community, now you've probably created 800, 500, 800, 1,000 different jobs. So it's very important for us to realize that we want those jobs, but we don't want a community destroyed, drinking water destroyed, you know? And that's, I kind of feel like that's what's coming down the line. They're going state to state and they're doing this, man.
New developments tonight. Another Metro Atlanta County will now regulate data center construction. Thanks for joining us here tonight. I'm Wendy Corona. George Estevez is off. Now, it happened after months of debate. Coweta County Commissioners passed an ordinance tonight in a room packed with residents. Channel 2's Courtney Francisco live now outside of the commission chambers. And Courtney, not everyone is pleased with this decision.
As some critics say, this ordinance doesn't do enough to protect them. And the meeting just up this elevator right here was packed. We could hear booing, clapping, and even threats to throw people out if they couldn't control their outbursts.
We have done that a number, Chairman.
Sounds of disappointment.
So this one is in Coweta County. Coweta County is south of Atlanta. So now you see we've got east of Atlanta, DeKalb County, Ellenwood having their issue with data centers. Then we've got south of Atlanta having their issues with data centers also. The land in Atlanta, if you're building, is a lot cheaper if you go further out the city. So when you're out of 285 and you're headed towards Ellenwood, Lithonia, going further out, that's headed towards like that. That's in that Stone Mountain area, okay? The land tends to be cheaper. The houses tend to be cheaper because you're further away from the city. Coweta County has always been a more cheaper place, but when you hear people talk about they're only coming to black communities, Coweta County is a very country, predominantly white community. I think the population of minorities or blacks in Coweta County is somewhere south of 20%, you know, what the racial demographic there. Hold on. Let me ask. What is the racial demographic for Coweta County, Georgia? What is the racial? I like Gemini. Look, we talking about this and I'm using it to actually find information. What is the racial split between in Coweta County, Georgia? What does the demographics look like? So it's not just affecting the inner city. It's not just affecting blacks. It's not just affecting poor communities that need to sell. Because Coweta County is what? White, 69 up to 69% white. Black and African American, 18 to 20%. Approximately. You know? And then you've got under 8% Hispanic. So it's a predominantly country. When we talk about, you say the South is country, that's the country South right there. That's it.
Came from the crowd before Coweta County commissioners voted to approve a data center ordinance.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Commissioner Bill McKenzie was the only one to vote against the ordinance. It puts guidelines in place on data center noise, land, and water usage, as well as building design.
I think the ordinances are more than flexible. To be honest with you, I believe this is going to be an example for other jurisdictions.
But critics in red said it does not do enough to protect their health, water, electricity, and property values.
They're arrogant and they don't listen to the people.
Commissioners started designing a data center ordinance when a California-based tech company submitted an application to build a campus near Wagers Mill Road. Skin Edge represents the property owner.
The taxes that can be brought in from a data center project are huge.
Neighbors pointed out this land is a conservation zone.
I'm 80 years old, and I'm looking at selling my land in a couple years because I have to, because of my age, okay? And I'm afraid I'm going to lose property value.
Commissioners paused any construction until they agreed.
And that is going to affect property values. And I'm doing this because I know I can talk about a lot of different things, and I've got a bunch of things to talk about. But it's going to affect property values. So you have to be sensitive when you see this, even if you love technology like I do. I would still come in and vote against it. I'm not saying we don't need data centers. More or less, I'm saying we need to have it in the right place. There should be places for this. It shouldn't be up right next to someone's home where when they come out, all they see is the smoke or the loud noise from the data center.
More jobs may be on the way to one tri-state community. That is, if the residents there want them. One of the world's largest AI companies is aiming to build another data center. But as David Winter reports, there's resistance, including one man who is turning down millions to keep his land.
The beauty of the land just has
millions. He's turning down millions to keep this. You got to know at some point it can't be about just the money. And if he's turning down millions, I'm pretty sure he's well off too. So we can't really say, we're not talking about a poor guy. I'm pretty sure he's not a poor guy that doesn't have any money in his pocket. Because if he's getting offered $8 million, you got to consider property taxes that he pays every year on this. Got to consider that there's holding costs to it. Even though it looks beautiful, it's still holding costs to it.
Outside of Maysville, Kentucky is undeniable. Pristine creeks, rolling hills, fertile farmland. It's where Dr. Tim Grosser, about 30 years ago, bought 2 parcels of land, a total of 250 acres.
My grandson loves to come up here and hunt deer and turkeys, and it's just what we do.
So he's well off. He's a physician, a doctor, physician. Look, I'm messing up my word today. Whoa, we working through it today. But he's very well off. So he can do that. We get it. But it shouldn't even have to do with the money. The businesses, these data centers should understand that the same people that they're employing, they're also destroying.
Dr. Grosser has been farming the land with his son and hopes to keep it in his family for generations. But he's not the only one who wants to use the property.
For a project of this scale and magnitude, things change rapidly.
An engineering consultant for what we're told is one of the largest AI companies in the world answered questions last night at a planning commission meeting. The undisclosed company wants to buy Dr. Grosser's land and a lot more surrounding it in order to build a massive AI data center.
The data center developer is looking for about 2,000 acres outside of Maysville, including this land. The Grosser's property is just over that ridge, about 250 acres, but as you can see, there is plenty out here from which to choose.
But before the company can choose Mason County for its project, it needs landowners to sell the land. The market value for farmland here is about $7,500 an acre, which would make the Grosser's.
Now, you notice this is farmland. That's one of my issues too. When we talk about food supply and we talk about what potentially can happen with our food supply, because we have a big population, unlike China and some of these other places. China has a huge population, but they've got a lot of land, and some places they can't grow. But we have so much stuff that we import from China and from other countries that we don't grow here. And the more you take farmland, agricultural land, and you use it to put data centers on, you truly limit the food supply down the line for people because there's less places to grow. Now, this is one county and one city, but imagine as more AI companies get into the play, into this back and forth, and they raise their hand to expand these companies. Now, what I've learned is some of these companies are really brand new. You don't have a track record of how they perform when it comes to environment, when it comes to money, when it comes to treating the people right. You don't. So it's hard to kind of gauge if you're doing business with someone that's good, a great company, they take care of the environment, but you got to believe to save a penny, to save a buck, capitalism is great, but you do have crony capitalism. And I'm down for good capitalism, bringing a service to the market, but I believe this can be done a whole lot better and a whole lot differently.
Land worth about $2 million. The company's first offer was twice that, $4 million. Then the offer doubled again, more than $8 million. Finally, the company asked Dr. Grosser to name his price.
So why don't you say 30 million, 50 million?
That money can't buy happiness.
It can buy a lot, though.
Well, it can't buy that.
Tyler McHugh is in charge of attracting economic development to the area.
Are you able to do this without the Grosser's land?
It can be done. The scale of it might have to be changed.
And if that happens, Dr. Grosser's land may be left pristine, but it could also be butted up against a massive data center and be worth quite a bit less than $8 million. In Mason County, this is David Winter reporting.
The area.
And that's sad. The more they push in on it, the more something like that, it can change the value all around. So it's not just the value of the land.
More breaking news.
When you talk about what it is right now, you're talking about also the value of the land down the road. Down the road, that land, because they do end up building it, can turn out to be something way less valuable when he's ready to sell it. Where they're offering $800 for it, and it's probably worth what, $1.5 million. Once they build that thing, he'll be happy he gets $500,000 for it if he gets it, because they don't really need it anymore. And who's going to build in that area too? And how is it going to affect the cows if you're raising livestock? Don't know.